Yeah? Okay.
In 5 seconds.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay, now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Hey, my name is Dora, and I'm from the Middle East Center. A little bit about the Middle East Center. It's a research and content organization dedicated to strategic analysis of regional shift. The center focuses on building narrative of peace, regional security, emphasizing connection between people beyond the level of political leadership. So thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. For the book launch, The Cyrus Accord, A Vision for Israeli-Iranian Peace. So today we have very unique speakers. We have Arash Ahmadian, that is an author, Iranian patriot, and opposition activist living in exile. Arash dedicated his life to fighting the ignorance and extremism of the Ayatollah regime, presenting the authentic voice of the Iranian people, who long to renew the historic alliance with Israel. And of course, my dear colleague, Tom Wagner, a communication strategic and co-leader of the Abrahamic movement. Tom worked to strengthen strategic ties between Israel and the people of the region, promoting the vision that sustainable peace must be based on a shared cultural and historical identity. So this is very exciting for me also, because your book is very unique. So before we dive into the Cyrus Accord and the grand strategic, I would like to start with something personal. Writing book together while your countries, and my country too, are officially in a state of direct conflict is not a small feat. Can each of you share a moment or one specific conversation between you that made you realize this is it? We aren't just friends. We are building a bridge that can change history.
Wow. Arash, you go first.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Before, I think 3 years ago, it was a while after October 7, we got to know Tom. I was already engaged here in Europe with activities and promoting pro-Israel activities, and then it was spreading in the diaspora, and through some familiar people that we knew each other, I got to know Tom, and then we started to know each other more. Then we had engaged in more activities together with different groups, Israelis and Iranians. And so we got to know each other more. We got to know the communities more. Both of us brought so much more knowledge for each other. For example, there were so many things that we didn't know about how Israelis think, or how is the situation, and many times they didn't know how we feel or think. So we got to know more each other, and then things were advancing. We were doing things together. We started to do little things, and then it increased in different activities. And you know, after the trip of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, this the Cyrus Accord name was coming up more and more, and then we thought both that why shouldn't we write a book about it, at least something to start, you know, something not big, but of course it was, Tom said, maybe this time not huge, but something more compact and more effective, so it can be a foundation of something that goes to the future. And so we both started to work on it, and then we exchanged our writings, and then this is the result of that, which thanks to Tom, he did a lot for editing, and so this is the result that we are seeing today, and we are very hopeful that people will read it, and it brings some enlightenment.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, my friend. Great to see you as always.
Absolutely.
So actually, it's interesting to say that when I met Arash, I was in the process of taking intakes into Iranian opposition organizations. And I've done meetings, I think, with over 20, 30 Iranian opposition groups. And Arash was on one of them from the German side, and he was so proactive that we immediately started to connect with the ideas and what we can do and how can we change the situation. But I think that for Israelis, the most important thing to understand is how those intake or how those meetings usually sounds like, because mostly those meetings were all the same. The people are very good people, they're patriotic, they love their country. They had to run away from Iran because of the regime, because they wanted freedom, and they were active, they were vocal about their rights, and the regime led them to a situation of basically flight or fright. They had to get away from Iran in order to not to be killed. And the rest of the conversation usually would sound as the following. Because I would ask this opposition group, okay, so what is your agenda? And then they will tell me very specific agendas about their plan, how to get to regime change in Iran and what to do in the day after, because there's a lot of disagreements on those topics. And then I would ask, okay, where is your website? And 90% of the time the response was, oh, we had a website, but the cyber details of the Iranian regime destroyed it. And then I'm asking, okay, so where is your social media? And usually I get a link of 200 followers, 250 followers, something that is a few months old, and ask them, okay, that's your traction? Is that what you have? And they say, no, we had a much bigger Facebook or Twitter page with thousands of followers, but then the regime cyber details attacked it and they shut it down, and we had to start everything all over again.
Yes.
So it's almost impossible to create a revolution from those terms. And I think that the work we have done together had succeeded to create the terms for us to connect and start speaking about the possibilities.
Yeah, thank you. Just something that I was really curious, why Cyrus? You know, Tom, in your book, you presented King Cyrus as the first Zionist. Why is this topic historical figure the foundation of your peace formula? And how does it's different from the Abrahamic Accord narrative?
Arash, you want to begin?
Please, please go on and then.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Cyrus is the father of the Iranian nation. That's a big deal. They consider him the father of the modern Iranian nation. And Cyrus is also, as you said and as I said, he's the first Zionist because he agreed to the idea that the people of Israel should have their national home. And he actively basically support them in their ordeal to fund it. And that's a huge bridge between those two civilizations in a very, I would say, in a way that very resembles the way that Abraham, as you mentioned, is a very important bridge between the Jewish and the Arab civilization. But the Iranians are not Arabs. They're a totally different culture. They're not the descendants of Abraham directly. They may go his way, they may be part of monotheism, but they're not the descendants of Abraham. And there's a soft spot in the Iranian people because they sensed that they were Islamized and that their culture, their old culture, was set aside or ignored in the conversation. And when you speak to Iranians who love their countries and consider themselves a different entity than the Islamic regime that is basically occupied the country, they would like to see the accords between Israel and Iran celebrated under their identity. And their identity is going back to Cyrus and not to Abraham. And that's okay with us, because for us, Cyrus is, for the Jewish people, he is a remarkable point in our history, and he received his unusual status in our Bible. And the Cyrus Accord wasn't our brand, so to speak. The Cyrus Accord was coined by Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi as his initiative, of his description of the future accords between Israel and the Free Iran. Unfortunately, the Israeli side wasn't too aware of those statements. They weren't covered in Israeli media. They didn't get too much of media attention. And that was part of the reasons that we decided to write together this book and to showcase the Israeli people the vast potential of direct connections between those two ancient nations that has a lot of history together and a lot of shared common ground together. I think that what is also remarkable and should be said about the entire narrative of Cyrus, that it is a very strong historical narrative that is bringing those people together, not only through this narrow context of releasing the Jews, but also through the values of the Cyrus Codex, which is an incredible statement on the human rights, dignity, etc. And the same way that Abraham is creating a bridge that is obviously have a religious sentiment on it, Cyrus is creating a legacy that is secular, historical, sacred in the Iranian culture, not in the religion, that is almost equivalent and is very easy to seculars to walk in this path.
Avresh, I have a different question for you, but I'm gonna mention the question, and then you can also, I would like your input also about Cyrus, because it's probably an important figure in Iranian culture.
Absolutely.
So my question to you is, you're right that Iran is my temple. How does a secular Iranian nationalism serve as a stronger bridge to Israel today than any religion connection? And I want you to connect it to Cyrus too.
Sure, it's very connected to the Cyrus question. First of all, Tom said it very perfectly. I just want to mention one other point, that from the time of Cyrus till the beginning of Islamic conquest of Iran, it took 1,000 years. So, and during even this 1,000 year of pure Iranian leadership, we had only a few years Alexander, but again Iranian took over. So we always had a wonderful relation with Israel and the Jewish state, Jewish people. So that, and when you look at the historical documents, you see how strong was the ties and how the two nations survived together and thrived together in different points of history, in science, in culture, literature, everything that existed at that time. So, but you should dig into the history. So this can be another reason that it makes this book and this theory much more stronger. And about your question, what was your question? Say it again, please.
Yeah, I said that you wrote Iran is my temple.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, so this is a big statement. I
Sure,
mean,
yeah.
secular, so I want to know,
It's not
understand
only
why.
who I say it. Most of Iranians currently say that. Also, Crown Prince said it and mentioned it. This comes from the gathering of Iranians around 15 years ago around the Temple of Cyrus, which they declared different more nationalistic slogans. But we should also know that Iranian nationalism is not the same with the definition of fanatical nationalism that might be presented in the West with a negative meaning, with a blind fanatism or something like that. Because first of all, Iran it's like a mosaic country with different people. As you know, Iranian Gilaks, Kurds, Lords, Baluchs, even Iranian Arabs, and all these people always live together peacefully, and they love each other, and they want to stay together with each other. So that's why it goes more to the question of identity and dignity of human being, because this regime has, okay, after the conquest of Islam, we had always problems with the regimes who were fanatical Muslims, which were oppressing Iranian people, and then there was always conflict between people and the regimes that many times they were non-Iranians. And you know that before 500 years ago, Iranians were Sunnis. So again, 500 years ago, with another genocide, Iranians became Shiite with the Safavid area, which they wanted to create a new religion to be separated from the Caliphate and from Ottomans and stuff like that. But I don't want to go into that now. Just want to say this nationalism is something for Iranians, something beautiful, full of love, but a resistance towards tyranny, a tyranny who wants to erase us as humans with an identity and a history full of love and full of openness, but and we have been silent for years, and they keep killing, torturing, raping, and slaughtering and stealing. So that's why now this resistance come to the face as a patriotism and nationalism. And I think constructive, positive patriotism is not a bad thing, because if you are a good patriot, you're going to love everyone and you want peace for everyone, so that everywhere would be peaceful and everyone could live in peace with their loved ones. And I think constructive patriotism is not a bad thing. And yeah, this is the reason that we say Iran is my temple, because probably anyone in any religion or even spiritual beliefs, they need a temple. Temple for worshipping, but a temple, for example, a house, even if you are renting a room, to feel safe, to be there, to sleep there, to feel respected. And unfortunately, this has been taken away from Iranian people. This temple, this house, in German they say Zuhause, and that's why when your dignity been taken away from you, even in your most private places, and the way of your living, if they want to come even into your mind, control your mind and your body. So that's why the resistance coming out now. Some say it's Bible, it's like a biblical. Some say it's God given, it's like God helping us. Some say it's Earth, universe, Mother Earth, whatever you want to say it, you call it, but this is it. And people are not going to stand back now. It's something that has started, and thanks goodness, thanks God, now United States and Israel are finally coming to our help. We are very thankful. You cannot imagine, like internet is shut down. You cannot see many news and some short videos. I don't know if maybe you guys get it, that like people are on the rooftop, and when the Israeli or Americans are bombing the regime, they are cheering and they are saying, oh yes, oh yes. So this is the level of how is the oppression, that what kind of the people would cheer when their country is under bombardation. And so yeah, they are hiding as like Hamas, like their brothers of Hamas. They are hiding now in hospitals, in schoolgirls, schools, and all those places that Hamas were using. Now they are hiding there. They're going even for rest to the hospitals and schools, so that if United States or Israel would hit them, they would say, "Oh, you see, they hit the school," which they are doing it now, and the propagandists in the West are making so much noise.
Yeah, I'm sure that there is like both sides, the narrative, like what you presented and what other social media or the other side is presented.
The
So
other
this is
side
really,
has a big voice, unfortunately,
yeah,
thanks to their supporters, but we are not anymore voiceless. So yeah, and the
yeah,
truth coming out.
yeah, and this is very inspiring. I want to move to actually, you spoke about people versus the regime. And Tom, the book opened with a letter you wrote to Arash from the bomb shelter in Israel under Iranian missile fire that happened not too long ago. Arash, in your response, you say, "We love you." How do you explain this incredible gap between the regime hatred and the people affection? Because it's really extreme.
Mhm. Can I, Tom?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sure.
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
You know, when we were I have spoken with many Iranians about this, and also many times I hear in different interviews or people talk about it. When we were like my generation, people who was born after the Islamic Revolution, when we were small, we didn't know what is Israel. About United States, we knew a little bit, but we had so little information about Israel. We just would hear anything that the regime would say. Death to Israel. Israelis are bad tyrants. They are killing people. They are killing women and children. But we would never, like Iranians, we would never believe them. Like we were not even comfortable with that, but we couldn't say anything. So only the like very fanatical groups would go to their gatherings like Basij and stuff, and they were very hateful. And we were kind of neutral with this question, like, what is this Israel? Because we would see the Palestinians, they would come to Iran, we would see the pro-Palestinians, and they were like privileged people who always had so much support and always moving with guns and escorts and having the best facilities, and they were very aggressive, very rude and stuff. And but so we would say, like, okay, if they are the good guys, who are the then years would pass, and slowly with internet we started to get more information from Israel, and to know what is Israel actually, then go to the history and read the history, and more development of internet than social media. So we started to recognize, wow, even to know more ourselves, more our history, but also to know more about Israel. And then for example, me as Iranian Christian, so also the Christian history. Then I'm Iranian, I'm also interested to find the relations between Iran and Israel, and many other things, many other situations. And when our knowledge became more, we recognize, and I recognize, wow, such a deep connections we have with Israel and this nation, and we have been like separated by this regime only 47 years now, and this is unbelievable. And like they are our friends, our allies, and they are there, and we didn't know they even exist. These good people that like they are kind of like us, like we have so many in common, like for goodness, you know. And so then, yeah, in the beginning when I was a student, at that time in Greece, like 15 years ago, I was even interested to go to Jewish museums, but they were very afraid of me, or they wouldn't even let me in, the police of the museum or so. So it was even difficult to get in contact with any Israelis, or so. And I even applied to go to the University of Haifa to do a master, and like scientifically I was qualified, but then they told me, sorry, we cannot accept you. We hope you understand. And I was very sad. And I mean, so this try, and then this connection that you try to know something more because you see something interesting in there, something that attracts you, you know, these connections from different aspects. That's why when I said we love you, it was really coming from the heart. In Persian, we say چیزی که از دل برایت بر دل نشیند. Something really comes deeply from your heart, and it might sit in the heart when something comes from the heart. So that's why that message, it was really like a sudden thing that I was sitting and just sent that message, that video message. And like we really felt that moments that you guys were in the shelter, bomb shelter, and they were shooting you, and for years we were under humiliation that this regime is representing us. It was so heavy, and many would stick this regime to us and would ridicule us. You see, Iranians, look at your leaders, look at what they are doing. Do you remember at Ahmadinejad time, they put a monkey in a some kind of rocket, they wanted to send him to the space. At that time I was in France, I was in university, and my classmates were like ridiculing me, or in Greece, and I didn't know what to say. I was trying to say that they are not us, but it was so messed up. And then that's what all these things. And then when you see a nation that has so deep connections, so many deep connections with you, and you read in the history that how good your ancestors were together and how they were supporting each other. For example, a few days ago it was Purim, and then even the history of Purim, and like, you know, Queen Esther and the king at that time, that, you know, that if he was a bad guy, he wouldn't support Esther, and he wouldn't arrest Haman, and, you know, all those things. So I mean, we have really deep relations. That's why when you know about it, I think this if you are a good person, if you are a good heart person, this should make you proud and willing to love your sisters and brothers in Israel.
Yeah, that's a big tie.
Yeah.
Definitely. Tom, go ahead.
I think that's what motivated the writing of the book more than everything, because we started discussing the narrative of Cyrus. Of course, the Cyrus Accords, and I'm sure that in this context, the book will be a prophecy that fulfills itself. The Cyrus Accords will be signed, and they will become reality the same way that the Abraham Accords became reality. And of course, the Accords themselves will be very similar in spirit to the Abraham Accords, because we're speaking about countries that normalize the ties and start an alliance. But the narrative behind this idea of the Cyrus Accords at first seemed shallow. Okay, so we are connected through Cyrus, that's a good starting point. but then we started to understand that there's more into it, that there's actually the alliance between those people goes way back. Behind it's more than it's out more than we knew of. And once you start looking at those patterns of two ancient nations that were basically, even that they were remote geographically, were always connected to 2,500 years, you say, wow, that's really exciting stuff. If all the people that are involved in the conflict were aware of it, it would have changed things, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see that the nature of the relationship between those two nations were always empowerment, were always friendship. Israelis and Iranians, when they meet each other, they connect immediately. The declaration of Cyrus brings such a historical and moral depth into all those narratives, and even the story of Purim that we are now just celebrated is a part of this shared legacy, because of course it can be seen as a problem, but in the end of the day, remember how it ended. It was a conspiracy against the Jews in Iran, but the conspiracy failed. And we have now a bright future together, because I think now we are in an historical turning point. 2,500 years ago, it was Cyrus the Great that liberated the Jews and created a free home for the sons of Israel. And today, Israel is part of the effort to free Iran. I'm almost certain that this effort will succeed. Maybe it will take some more time, maybe there will be problems along the way, but we already see that this is a turmoil that I cannot see how the Iranian regime will succeed to reverse this turmoil. And if you will start as the way that we done in the book on the Cyrus Accord, start concluding from the shared past to the shared future. What will our future look like together as allies? And it's just around the corner. It sounds so imaginary, but it could be the reality of next year. Full alliance that can change the Middle East with an Iran that is free, that will be a natural partner of Israel in fighting terrorism, in create an atmosphere of moderation in the Middle East, in promoting prosperity, democratical values, because the new Iran will have democratical values. I think that the Cyrus Accord is just a promo for the future, but it's a promo that is much needed. Both people need to hear it. Both people need to understand where we are coming from. Because this 40 years, the last 40 years of hostility between the Iranian regime and Israel is just a blink of an eye in our shared history of alliance, and we should overlook that.
Yeah, this is amazing how history goes round and round, and now we're in the side that actually helping you. So this is truly fascinating. I want to dive into the book a little bit, and you spoke about the economic model, your detailed collaboration in water, agriculture, and solar energy. Is Israeli expertise the key to rebuilding Iran after decades of neglect by the Ayatollahs? Because I know that there is also bright people in Iran. So please share. Rush, you can start.
Yeah, from our side, Israel will be one of our key partners, really like a top key partners that we are going to establish the partnership not only in economy, but technology, culture, agriculture, and everything else that's possible. And especially Crown Prince, even he himself said it, that because of the advanced Israeli water management technology and many other expertise, we can do cooperations to quickly solve for example, some water problems. You know that now the Crown Prince have the transitional plan with so many experts, really educated people who are experts in different fields, and they are preparing themselves. So as soon as the regime fall, they take over, and we want to keep the country stable without any anarchy or any lack of anything that would cause to any catastrophe. And the regime have holded the country really on the verge of catastrophe in every field. So we need this cooperation between Israelis and Iranians, and of course Americans, and any other partner that would want to help us would cause to a quick recovery and avoiding any chaos. But definitely we have also very long-term plans for cooperation with Israelis in every field. And definitely Israel is one of our key partners, which we count on.
Yeah, man. Tom, your input?
There's a lot of matching between Iran's challenges and Israel's abilities. It's actually remarkable. And there's a project, it's called the Cyrus Fund. Actually, one of his public speakers is our friend, Pastor Ford Khurshidi, who is also an Iranian activist, Iranian opposition activist. And it is the beginning of an infrastructure that is based on Israeli high-tech knowledge and, of course, Iranian cooperation to create solutions that are much needed for Iran, because the regime, by the way, we should have had someday, we should have a whole seminar about the failures of this regime that are remarkable, really. So they completely destroyed the entire water infrastructure of Iran that had plenty of water, but now people don't have access to clean water today. And Israeli technologies are equipped to deal with this situation in a remarkable way. And it should be part, it was also throughout the last years, it was part of our messaging to the Iranian public. When I say we in this issue, I refer to the Israel-Iranian Friendship Association that Russia and myself are a part of, that is acting as one voice. And we said, the only way to tackle Iran water crisis is with Israeli technologies and not on the ground, because the regime is boycotting Israel. And that was actually a talking point that resonated with most of Iranians. It didn't make sense to them, and it really don't.
Yeah, truly. I remember reading about the crisis, the water crisis that started years ago, draining the leg. Yeah, that's very sad. Moving forward into something more positive, like, do you think if we build the Israeli-Iranian alliances, the Cyrus Accord, how do you see it impacting other nations in Central Asia, also minority like the Kurds that right now is doing the uprising in Iran? So I would like to hear a little bit about that.
I don't know which Kurds, if you mean Iranian Kurds, they are doing the uprising together with all other Iranians. But if you mean the Kurds from other countries, we don't know about that. But one thing is clear, that beside Israel, we want to have a good relation and peaceful relation with everyone else. This Cyrus Accord that we are doing is something between us and Israel. And of course, it could be extended to other Persian-speaking countries, or countries who have Iranian influence in Central Asia. And they wanted to. They were also celebrating people in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, who part of Uzbekistan after death of Khamenei, or with uprising of Iranian people. And of course, that can be extended because it's something constructive. It's something that want to build, want to help humanity in a positive way. So we can say this Cyrus Accord, which is also biblical, also goes to nation of Israel and Iran, can be a force of good for everyone. So yeah, I believe it can be extended.
Yeah, definitely. And Tom, you dealing with many minorities in the Middle East. So how do you think like those the transition into the thinking of Cyrus Accord? What's the influence?
So I think we have two sets of influence over here. One is immediate and is basically the backlash, because okay, so we will have, hopefully soon, we will have a new regime in Iran, and it will enter office. And of course, it will take time to figure out some things, but then we will have the Cyrus Accord signed. And the relationship between those states will be normalized. But that won't be the only part of this scenario. The other part of this scenario, first and foremost, Iran, the new Iran, will immediately withdraw all the funding to the Houthis, to the Iraqi militias, to Hezbollah, to Hamas, to the let's say, to the terrorist groups that are in Afghanistan and many other spots around our planet, through Latin America, and many networks that are financed by the Iranian regime. Now, it's almost certain that any relevant political force that will take over Iran, probably headed by the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, will immediately stop all funding and assistance to those organizations. And then we will see a circle of normalization that is moving, first of all, eastward, because the Hezbollah we cannot maintain his abilities without the funds from Iran. The Houthis cannot maintain, etc., etc., etc. So we will see in all those countries, Iraq, Yemen, Sudan, the decline of the radical forces, and positive forces will have more room to step forward. And that will create another wave of expanding the Abraham Accords in the Israeli-Arab arena. On the second hand, geopolitically, we will see that the new Iran will become, of course, the Accords will be the Cyrus Accords, but it will also become part of the geopolitical axis that is identified with the Abraham Accords. It will be a part of the alignment of the United States, Israel, India, the Emirates, Ethiopia, Greece, Cyprus, Somaliland, Morocco, more regional players that are forming together an anti-radical alliance. The new Iran will be a dominant part of this alliance. Arash will remark, but I don't see any other scenario. And the third thing, which is going very deep, Arash mentioned it, once you start, I would say, undusting the narrative of Cyrus the Great as the connector between those nations over here, more nations will respond to it eventually, if we do it correctly. because the same that it was with the Abraham Accords that was signed with the Emirates and Bahrain and Morocco, but is speaking culturally to more Arab nations, the same way more nations other than Iran see themselves as the ancestors of Cyrus the Great. So this narrative can connect Israel also to Afghanistan, to, it sounds remote, to Tajikistan, to groups, Muslim groups or other groups in India, in Central Asia, wherever they celebrate Nowruz, basically, because Nowruz is the spring holiday that is a part of the legacy of Cyrus the Great, and it's very popular in specific communities in Central Asia, and those communities can be connected to the Cyrus Accords the same way that our communities are communicating with the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, thank you.
It will be only a force for good, really, like very positive, as Tom mentioned, in every aspect. Also good for Abraham Accords.
Yeah, definitely. This is truly the right path to take now. But I have a question for you, Arash, that just came in mind, and I want to ask you, your people right now is fighting for a new future. I want to ask you, what do you see, like us, is the audience that hear you? What do you think? What steps can we take to help the narrative, and also to spread the Cyrus Accord? Because I think you hit on something very important for the region, for the Middle East region, to go and step behind the Abrahamic Accord. This is really truly something strong.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the most important things that our friends could do now to amplify our voice, be our voice, we really need internet. This is, I think, one of the most important things, because the regime has cut the whole country again, and it's very difficult to get the news because when the people are connected with the world, both the people can see what's going on here and the world can see what's going on in Iran, and also it gives more hope. It can help to stay organized. We mentioned it many times that please help us to have internet, dear Europe, dear big powers, but yeah, no help comes from Europe, and now United States and Israel are doing the great job, and we would be very grateful if someone could help us to be connected, to stay connected to internet, not only with Starlink, because you need Starlink devices to receive Starlink, and even it's now very difficult, and they are very wide. They are like a wounded snake, and they are biting everywhere, and they were yesterday night they were shooting at the residents' balconies because people were cheering. So and then hopefully soon the regime will fall. As Tom said, we don't know. It can goes in a few days. It can take a little bit more. And one more important thing that I want to beg our dear Israeli brothers and sisters. We know that you hear different news. You hear about minorities. You hear about this and that. And I just want to honestly tell you, the only opposition that exists at the moment, a true opposition that is supported with the most majority of people inside and outside Iran, Iranians, I mean, is Crown Princess of Pahlavi. And he has said it many times. I don't know how many more times he has to say that he don't want a power for himself, and he wants just to be a transitional leader, because people are calling for him, and to help Iran to reach to the point to arrive to a real democracy. So I want you, if possible, please support us in this way, and please transfer it to your governments and people of influence to help us to to accept this transitional government as soon as possible, because sooner the free world started negotiations with the transitional government, things can advance faster. And for example, now people are starting to complaining the price of oil and gas might go high because of the war in the Persian Gulf or stuff like that. So now it's just the beginning, you know. It might take a little bit more time, but to avoid, because Islamic Republic and their partners want to make this war long, want to make it as long as possible. Then they claim it on BB and President Trump, and then to create chaos inside Israel, inside United States, inside Europe, to empower their BDS campaign proxies or other proxies to create more chaos in the world and blame it on, you know, and with these so-called anti-war demonstrations, then they destroy everywhere again. But really, to avoid all these things and to avoid more human casualties and to avoid any economical catastrophe and chaos everywhere, is the best for the free world to start negotiations with transitional government, with the leadership of Crown Princess Pahlavi, and then things can go smooth quicker, much quicker than to because, you know, people are shouting for him. It's like the elephant in the room. We don't see the elephant. Where is your representative? Like Macron, they're saying, okay, who is your representative? And so, I mean, if we are honest, we should open our eyes, and it's very clear who is the representative of Iranian people. And it's not complicated, and it's not about now monarchy or republic or anything else. It's about saving Iran, saving the Middle East, saving the world from so many destructiveness.
Yeah, thank you. Tom, do you want to add anything right before the end?
Yeah, first of all, I think we should take some questions from the crowd. I think that it's really hard to see, but the future is just around the corner. I was trying to think, how can the Iranian regime overcome this situation? There are very few scenarios left. Their internal force is not enough for it. They were basically occupied all the time in the need to lock up their people, basically. And I think that's a great opportunity to say something about what's going on in Iran in terms of their protection. Because there isn't any. And that's something that is never spoke of. They don't have shelters. They don't have mamad, as a home shelter, secured space and home like Israeli do. They don't have community shelters on the ground in neighborhoods yet like we do. Basically, no one invested even single dollar in securing their lives. And I think that speaks loudly about how the regime is treating its people. And sometimes I think about my friends in Iran, how it feels to be in this situation in a country that had any reason to expect to be bombarded, but never build bomb shelters. We wouldn't be sad to see this regime go. I think the time has come, and it's around the corner, and afterwards we will have a glorious future.
Yeah, thank you. So we have some lovely crowd here. Anyone would like to have a note or share his thought or ask a question?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. Hi, I'm Yoel Oz, Rabbi Yoel Oz. I'm with Tom. I'm in the Abrahamic movement in Israel. It's more of just an internal politics question. I'm curious. asking as an Abrahamic question. I'm just asking, what percentage do you think of the people in Iran support Reza Pahlavi? And because I've been posting stuff about him, and I always get these responses like, "Oh, the people don't want the Shah, and what are you doing?" And I say he's the only game in town. He's the leader of the opposition, and it's a country that has 25 centuries of monarchy. It's not, and if there, I don't know if it's going to be a monarchy or not be a monarchy, but if it would be constitutional. It would not be, it would be more like the United Kingdom than anything else. And so, what is I guess, how big is his support in Iran? And those of us, who are outsiders, what can we do to help promote him in Western media? Because I think in Western media he's been completely like ignored, and it's a tragedy.
May I, Theodora?
Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for your question. Very important, which we deal with this also on a daily basis. If you remember, a few weeks ago, on January, when the big uprising again started, it was after the call of Crown Prince on social media. So at that time, still the internet was kind of open. And if you look at his Instagram, the two video that he made to call on people to come to the streets on the 4th and 5th of January. Now, I don't remember the exact day, but it is in his Instagram. The views are both more than 80 million views. So the population of Iran is 90 million. And then they shut down the internet, and then the views come much less, like 10 or 15. And but again, you see that how many million people came to the streets at that 2 days after his call. Not only in one city, not only in 10 cities, in all the countries, and there are videos, thanks God. There in every village, in small villages, in Lorestan, in Azerbaijan, in Kurdistan, in villages, people are having these old guns in the funeral of their loved ones, holding his, like now people are declaring officially war against the regime, that with the lion and sun flag and the picture of Crown Prince. So what else can be the proof of his legitimacy? And that was the reason he accepted the call of the people, and now he's doing his best. And unfortunately, those who are repeating these narratives, if you search them, you see somehow they are linked to the Hamas, Hezbollah, Bernie Sanders, and I don't know, whoever. This group, this circle that are always so, unfortunately, so blindly, so unlogically are attacking and repeating the same narrative. They don't even know that Iran before the 1979 was a constitutional monarchy with a parliament and everything. There was elections. But again, the Crown Prince said it himself, we are not going back to the past. We are going to the future, and we are going to the way of democracy. So what else can someone say and prove with his actions for years, all of his life, that he's a democratic person? And in the game of politics, it is like that. So what we are asking for our friends, and you, sir, please be our voice, amplify our voice, and don't get discouraged with these people who are saying these words, and know that the Iranian nation wants him. He is the future. And he's a way to democracy for us. So, and we support him.
Yeah. Well, what I understood that it's a transition. You need somebody to lead you during a transition, but everyone speak about a democracy.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important to understand that. Okay.
But like he has the biggest support in the country. Like more than 80% of the whole population. That's why. And tomorrow, even if whatever people vote, it should be respected. No, not if they vote for something that it is not appealing to some hardcore, extreme leftist, pro-Islamist, then they accuse you of that, oh no, this democracy is not democracy because the votes is not in our favor. Then it is not, as he said it with German media, I am not afraid of the vote ballots. Are you? So this is, it should be respected, whatever people vote, no? And I'm sure in future of Iran, in few years, everyone will, the good people will change their mind about how they believed all this propaganda that, oh, Pahlavis are the son of the Shah and it's going to be worse and bad and stuff, because they will see the progress, they will see the freedom, they will see the flourishness of all the goodness. And yeah.
Yeah, I truly believe that this is the path that your people are going through, and that will make transition in the Middle East. When we speak about Iraq, that they are struggling with their democracy, and then we have Syria now that's also trying to build something. But I feel personally that the Iranian people are more ready for a new path for a democracy than the other I guess countries in the region. Yeah. So I would like to take one more question maybe before the end. Anyone would like to make a comment?
Maybe I will ask. If I can first just share, you spoke about the relationship between Iran and Israel in the past, and I have some personal connection because, first of all, my father, when I was a child, he was a professional who used to travel to Persia, as they called it then, for a professional agricultural as an agricultural guide. And for me, like, he was traveling there and it was part of our reality. And then we lived in Jamaica for a few years, and my daughter went to an international school, and I met a lady who was Iranian. It was then in the previous decade, but there was already talk about bombing and if Israel is going to bomb Iran, and I was very much against it. And we were talking. She is Iranian, I'm Israeli, and I'm saying, and she says, of course they should bomb them. Israel should bomb Iran, and I disagreed. So it was a very funny conversation. But I wanted to ask you, it seems so simple when you're talking, like people say that there are militias that might be put into place, and how do you know that there won't be chaos in the country? Because in many countries, when dictators were taken down forcefully, it didn't how do you say it? After it didn't create a very positive situation, as we can see in many other countries. Like, it created chaos. It let other extremists or negative powers walk in, and you seem very confident that it's not going to happen. Like, everything is under control, and I wonder, how do you see it really actually happen on the ground?
May I, Dora? Tom,
Yeah,
may I?
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. First of all, about the bombing that you mentioned, we hear that too. No, I think no normal human being is happy with war, and no one who is a normal human being who loves his or her loved ones is going to be happy with a war. But we should know that this is not a war, it is a rescue mission. Like, we Iranian people look at it as a rescue mission of 90 million people who are hostages of a bunch of criminals who have taken all their life away from them, and they are stealing their money to export terrorism. So we look at it as a rescue mission. And about the, because of, you said, I am certain and confident, yes. But as Tom said, on the way to freedom, there might be challenges. There might be always things that, if stones on the way, So we, as you mentioned, militias, this and that. Nowadays we hear all these rumors about militias from different places. They want to enter Iran.
Rumors.
Rumors. But you know, when you are confident and you know that the whole country are united in one thing, those rumors will stay rumors and they can just maneuver in the social media. For example, the power of social media is very important. And unfortunately, at the moment, the Voice of America Persian have been taken over by a person named Ali Javanmardi, who is a very, very anti-Pahlavi, anti-Iran person who is promoting separatism. And he has completely boycotted Crown Princess of Pahlavi from being interviewed. And Voice of America Persian used to have so many viewers in Iran, but now months nobody watch it. And so, I mean, these rumors can also be empowered by some people or institutions who might have power in social media. But in the end, when you know your people and you see the majority are united in oneness, so that gives you hope, especially when you see two big powers like Israel and United States are in your side. And they also, I think Israel and USA or even Europe don't want a vacuum of power in Iran, or an Iran with like just whatever, because not the joke political position. Then if the chaos erupts, it will affect the whole world. And we should know, as Tom again mentioned, Iran is not other countries. Also, Dora mentioned that people are ready to accept the new democracy. They are very law-obeying people. They are just waiting. They are just waiting for order to come, but with Pahlavi, because they trust him. And with an Iranian regime, not this. With the people look at this regime as an anti-Iranian regime. So yeah, that's why we are very positive.
Yeah. When I lived in Los Angeles, there is a huge Iranian community. And I met extraordinary people, and I was wondering, I was puzzled, you know, there are exile. But they were ready back then, I'm talking about 20 years ago, and they were ready back then to go back to Iran and do the transition. And you know, it's been, this is the time now. This is the opportunity that I don't know if there will be another time.
No,
So
this
we
is the
need to
time.
be strong and understand that
Absolutely.
this is the process, and support it and help as much as we can. And
Please.
Tom, before we ending, I want you to have a few words, and if there is another time for another question, please let me know. Yeah.
Yes, if someone wants to ask a question, I think it's perfectly fine. In terms of the book, I think that now the next mission is to translate it to Farsi. It's an Israeli-Iranian book. We published it in Hebrew. We co-authored it in English, but as always, translation, editing, that's creating something a bit new. And I think that it's a unique thing that we wrote an Israeli-Iranian book that is speaking about the Cyrus Accords from a shared perspective. And I hope that this book will bring, because I already see the reactions of the readers from the Israeli side, the first readers, and they say, wow, this is so exciting to hear about the historical depths of our ties, because history is exciting us when we feel that we are connected to something bigger and there's things that connect us beyond what we see, then it's creating new basis for communication. And I would like to see this effect goes to Farsi as well, and the Iranian readers engaged and see that they were actually lied about by the regime, because it's unbelievable once you start digging into those materials to see how the real history of Jewish-Persian cooperation throughout the years was distorted by the regime to the extent that they thought the story of Purim as a story about the evil Jews that were conspiring how to get rid from the king advisor. And I hope that soon they will be gone and they will make room for the renewal of this friendship. It will be really amazing. And I hope that one day, maybe not that far, we will be able to launch the book in the bookstores in Tehran and Isfahan and Shiraz and libraries and universities throughout Iran.
Amen.
Amen to that. Yeah, I want to thank you both, Avrash and Tom. I think the Cyrus Accord is truly inspiring and it brings something new on the horizon. And to our viewer, the book is being translated to English. And if you like to have a copy, you can follow the channel and then we'll post more updates so you can read that. So I want to thank everyone tonight and with many blessings and the hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for hearing us. Please read the book. It's worth it. And stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
my
Ulla.
friend.
Thank you, my friend Tom. Thank you, Corin. Thank you, Dora. Thank you, everybody.
Soon in Iran, my friend.
Yes, hopefully soon.
Hopefully.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.